Hello, Willow here. The lighting is not too good right now. It's okay. Maybe if I hold on, let me see. If I do this, like if this would be better. Is that better? Not really, but it's okay. So today is gonna be a different vibe of the podcast, especially from the last one that I made, which I made it yesterday or last night in the middle of the night, and I had just switched to being manic, and I'm definitely not feeling like as manic as I was, but still definitely some mania in there. I don't know if it would be a full-blown manic episode or hypomania, because they have different diagnostic criteria. Mania is technically, or a manic episode is technically supposed to last a week, and hypomania is technically supposed to last 4 days at least. So rather than referring to it as a manic episode or a depressive episode, I don't want to like incorrectly classify it. So I'm going to refer to it as a manic state and a depressive state. But I'm also thinking like I have like the rapid cycling, where it switches really fast. And I'm also thinking I might also have like mixed presentation, where you have like aspects of depression and mania that are presenting at the same time. Because I would say I'm like kind of like in between right now. Like I'm not like super manic like I was the other day, but I'm also not like depressed, but I'm also not stable. And like there definitely are like symptoms of mania. Like, for example, I was only able to sleep 6 hours, despite being exhausted and having stayed up for 24 hours. And I need at least 8 hours to function. So like I woke up at 9, I went to bed at 2 p.m. and I woke up at 9 p.m. Wait, I guess that's 7. Well, no, it was 8:30. It was like 8:30 more. So I guess like, yeah, it was like 2:30 to 8:30. So it was like 6 hours, which isn't enough for me. And I was like exhausted still when I woke up, but I also felt like wide awake, and like my heart was kind of pounding, and like I knew I wasn't going to be able to go back to bed, but I kind of like fed into the delusion a little bit of like, oh, I'm tired, I'm sure I'll be able to go back to sleep. No, it didn't happen. I literally laid in bed for 6 hours trying to fall back asleep, from 9 to 3, actually 7 hours, 9 to 4, almost 5 is when I finally woke up. I was just laying in the dark. I found that I was like really, I couldn't stop going on my phone and like looking things up, or like, and I would try to put my phone down and then try to go to sleep, but I just felt really uncomfortable. Like I kept getting really hot and I didn't feel comfortable, and like I was exhausted but not enough to fall asleep, and so it was really frustrating, and I was really hoping to have gotten more sleep, but I didn't. And so anyway, I got up, made my coffee, took a shower, went and got breakfast at McDonald's because I love their breakfast and I'm usually not up in the morning. Usually like 10:30 is pretty early for me. But I was up all night, so this is the second day I've got McDonald's breakfast in a row. I'm coping by eating fast food, which I know it's not something that I want to do necessarily, but it's kind of a compromise that I've made for myself, and it is kind of me falling back on like the coping mechanisms that have worked in the past. But I feel like I'm having like some really impulsive urges to like invest $1,000, $500 in like all these different courses, like to start up my business and like do this and blah blah blah. And obviously, I'm not gonna do it. I just have the urge to. I've learned from my mistakes. In my last full-blown manic episode a couple years ago, which led to me being homeless, I invested $8,000 in a hypnotherapy course that I never ended up taking, and I was convinced at the time that this was going to be my new career, but I wasn't willing to put in the effort to like learn the material. I just like thought it would absorb into me somehow, and that was very delusional. I quit my job suddenly without giving notice. I dropped out of college suddenly, gave up a full ride academic scholarship, and completely dropped out. And then I gave away my $5,000 car, and hold on, I got a text. It's okay. I gave away my $5,000 car to someone I barely knew, honestly, and I just made a lot of really impulsive, reckless decisions. I was also in psychosis at the time, and I was communicating with my spiritual support team. However, with experience, I realized that what my spiritual support team tells me is more like metaphorical and more like esoteric, and it's not necessarily meant to be applied literally to the material world, and I hadn't figured that out at the time. And so I was using tarot and like angel numbers to make all of my important life decisions, which if you are thinking of doing that, bad idea. I know it feels good at the time. I know that, it feels like you're being divinely guided, but bitch, I'm telling you, I ended up homeless for 4 months, and I still don't have a car 4 years later, have not been able to afford one since, and didn't get that money back, that I spent on the course or anything like that. As well as I thought I was gonna move to Spain and never come back. So, and that's why I'd given away my car. So and I didn't consult any of my friends and family before I made this decision. So anyone who's going through like manic episodes right now and psychotic episodes, the best advice I could give you is delay any big decisions, primarily financial, because those are going to have really long-term consequences for you, but also in relationships as well. Like in this current manic episode, I almost made a decision to reach out to someone. And if I would have done that, it would have exposed me to a lot of hate and vitriol, because I was going to confront them about something that they weren't ready to take accountability for. And I'm a person in recovery. I'm 18 or 19 days sober today from weed. And if I would have done that, exposing myself to that hate and vitriol, especially from someone who felt like a second mother to me, would have crushed me, and I would have relapsed. And I wouldn't be having this conversation with you because I'd be in a much different state. So I'm really glad that I consulted with friends and family before making these decisions this time around, and like lean on your support system, and let them be the grounding energy for you. If they express concern, do your best to not take it personally. Do your best, because I know when people my mom tried to tell me, hey, I'm bipolar. I didn't tell you this before, but you're probably in a manic episode. I was like, no, I am not in a manic episode, honey. Like, no, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, my angels have my back, and I know that this is the right thing for me to do. And those decisions that I made in a very rapid span quite literally completely ruined me and set me up to have the worst experience of my life, being homeless for 4 months. And whenever I literally almost killed myself every day because it's really hard being homeless, and I was also really depressed, and I was exhausted, and I didn't know how, I couldn't see a future ahead of the time I was in, and I really thought it would be best for me to kill myself, and I had to stop myself from jumping off a bridge or in front of a train every day. So, and that went on for 4 months of like my daily goal being just to make it back to the shelter alive at night. It wrecked my body. Like during homelessness, I gained like 40 pounds from binge eating at night. And then after I became homeless, I continued to binge eat. And the thing was, when I was homeless, I was walking around all the time to access resources, shelters, food, places. When I got housed, I wasn't moving at all, and so I gained even more weight. I've gained 80 pounds over the past 3 years because of my binge eating. I used to be bulimic, and I would purge with intense exercise for like 4 to 5 hours a day, and like, yeah, it was really unhealthy. And I'm glad that I've left the bulimic purging behind, but I still haven't quite got a hold on the binge eating disorder. And so I think it's progress that I'm just binge eating without the purging, though it did have significant effects on my body. Because I gained so much weight and I wasn't moving, my muscles completely atrophied. And I had to use a walker just to like walk very short distances, because my legs were so weak and I was in so much pain all the time. I luckily have healed a lot and I've gained some muscle back. And I'm starting to lose a little weight now that I'm not smoking, because smoking weed really lowers my impulse control, my inhibitions, and it makes me binge eat every night. And basically, yeah, I'm just trying to like explain. And I still use my walker to go to the grocery store, like to carry all my food home, because I'm not that strong still, and it's hard, to carry your stuff back. But I don't have to use it for like daily walking anymore. I'm much stronger now and much more able-bodied, and I'm very grateful for that. But it took me, it's been 3 years now after homelessness that it took me to gain my strength back. And so anyway, the point of this is that the decisions, like being in a manic state, especially if it's paired with psychosis, can be extremely dangerous. And they say that the manic state is the most dangerous state because you're making such impulsive decisions. Like, it's very common for like people to like ruin relationships they've had, especially because an aspect of mania can be hypersexuality. And like, if you go on a manic binge and then like fuck your best friend while you have a boyfriend, like that's not gonna work out well, and you're gonna like ruin these relationships that you wouldn't normally be making this decision. And a lot of people, when they're manic, they don't feel like themselves, and like when they get done with their episode, they're like, what the fuck, like how did I do that? And so I would just urge anyone that if you have friends and family who are concerned, trust that they have your well-being in mind, and that they're not trying to tear you down or discredit your spiritual beliefs or anything. They are genuinely concerned that you are making decisions that could impact you for years to come, because I know that I am still being impacted financially, mentally, and physically by all of the decisions that I made in that time, which led to my homelessness. I'm very grateful now that I have the self-awareness and insight to recognize when I'm switching to a manic state and when I'm switching to a depressive state, so that I can be cognizant of what I'm needing as support, and especially like in a manic state for me, the best thing that works for me is to be in contact with my community and people that I trust, and so that I can bounce ideas off of, and they can honestly give me feedback of like, you know what, I think you should wait to do this until you're stable. Like, please wait. And that's what my friends and family have been urging me to do. Like, I'm like, I want to invest $1,000 in this course for my business. And like, while I do believe that this time is different and that I will actually invest the time to take the course this time, I'm still, even though I think it's going to be different, I don't know how I'm going to feel once I'm not manic anymore. So I'm not trusting Manic Willow to make that decision. And so my plan is I'm getting medicine from my provider on Tuesday, hopefully. That will help me stabilize. And if I still want to make this decision in like 3 weeks when I'm stable and my disbursement has come through and I have more money and I'm not like dipping right exactly into my savings, then I'll consider. And if I still feel like committed and that I still have the energy to do this, because part of the things when I'm manic is that you're very goal oriented and you set a lot of goals, but then when you get out of the mania, and especially when you get depressive subsequently, you don't have the energy to meet those goals anymore, and you realized that they were kind of unrealistic. So my family is like, do not buy this. And I'm like, I won't, I promise. I'm just telling you that I want to. I'm not going to though. But I'm grateful that they're looking out for me, even though I hate being told what to do. It is a pet peeve of mine. It really dysregulates me. But, you know, when they have my best interest in mind, I will make an exception. Also, another pet peeve of mine, the specific offer that I absolutely hate the marketing strategy. I know it works, but I hate the marketing, and I think I'm gonna make a promise to myself not to use this marketing strategy in my business, because I think it has a really harmful effect on people who are neurodivergent and who have mental health issues. And what I'm referring to is the putting a time limit on the deal. Like, you get all this, you get this, you know, for the example I'm thinking of, you get this $46,000 value for only $1,000, but you have to buy it today or this offer is going to disappear. First of all, I don't believe it. I don't believe her. I don't believe that the offer is actually going to disappear. And if it does disappear, then I'm just going to take that as a sign as it's not meant for me. Like, anytime I have a sense of urgency, it's not for me. It's not for me. And the things that are meant for me will come to me at the right time, and they won't feel urgent. It'll feel aligned. And it won't feel like I'm chasing it and that I have to do this or I'm going to lose it. That's a perspective of lack, of like, I need to do this or I'm going to miss out. And I don't want to make a big financial decision from that space. I want to make the decision from a space of, I've thought of this, I've considered this for a good amount of time. I've waited to check in with my body. I've waited to check in with my mind. I've waited to check in with my support system if they think this is a good idea. And, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, it's my decision. But I think it's good to check in, because I didn't check in with anyone during the big manic episode that ruined me. And yeah, and especially as someone who is neurodivergent and experiences mania, whenever you're manic, it feels like everything's urgent and it feels like you need to do it now. And the biggest lesson I'm learning from mania is it can wait until tomorrow. It can wait till a week from now. It can wait till a month from now. And, you know, like, I'm not talking about like things like paying your rent on time. Like, that really can't wait a month from now. That, you should pay your rent on time and stuff like that. But I'm talking about big decisions that could have potential large consequences on your mental health, your physical health, your relationships. Those decisions should be put off especially if you're manic. But I think even if you're not manic, it's a good idea. Like, one of the counselors I worked with, she told me, give it 24 hours, see how you feel tomorrow. And if you still want to do it, go ahead. But at least you waited 24 hours to see if this was really what you wanted to do. And oftentimes when you wait that 24 hours, you're like, oh, actually that wasn't the best idea. I'm really glad I waited, instead of being impulsive. And so I'm trying to practice impulse control. So I'm trying to believe and like have the mindset of, if this opportunity is really meant for me, if I'm really meant to invest in this course, then there's not a certain timeline that I have to do it by, and I don't have to if it's really meant for me, then I won't be missing out. Like I'm so worried that I'm gonna be missing out if I don't purchase this now and get the deal. But you're not missing out on something if it wasn't meant for you. What if me leaning into that urgency and making that decision, what if I'm trying to put something into my experience that isn't really meant for me because I think it's meant for me and I'm scared I'm gonna lose it? I don't like that energy. It's lack. And I want to be more in an abundance mindset of like, what is meant for me cannot pass me by. What is meant for me will come to me. And I think, don't take this to the extreme and like not take action, because taking action is very important, but it's important to take action from an aligned state of being of, this feels right, I've sat on this, I've contemplated it, and I agree that it would be a positive decision for me and a good investment, and I'm willing to put in the time and energy to make it work. So yeah, that's what I'm just trying to remind myself with this decision, is I'm like, oh, I really want to be in this course and I'm gonna miss the deal, but maybe this isn't the course for me. Maybe like a week from now I come across a course that's actually a better fit, and I realize, oh, I'm really glad I didn't invest in that course, because then I wouldn't have been able to invest in this one. So I'm just trying to think of it as, like I said before, what is truly meant for me will never pass me by, because it's meant for me and it's my destiny. Still take action to get there, but make sure it's aligned. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. That's like what I've learned in my journey. Yeah, I have a friend calling soon. I'm not sure when they'll call, but I just wanted to make this podcast in between. But like, even though I'm really exhausted right now, I'm still hyperverbal, so I still think I'm manic or hypomanic. And yeah, so that's my advice to anyone who's going through mania or psychosis. And I guess I'll just share my personal symptoms of mania, so that you have an idea of like what you can look out for. If your symptoms are similar to mine, now you might have different symptoms. Every person's different. But there are some general symptoms that I can share. Okay, let me go to my notes. Actually, I don't think I wrote it in my notes. I wrote it in my chart. I wrote it, because I sent a message to my provider seeing if she could provide me like some lithium, or start me on lithium before our appointment on Tuesday, but either she was out of the office and didn't get my message, or she just ignored it. I don't know. She was like, why are they asking me this? Like, our appointment's on Tuesday and it's Friday. I was just asking just in case, okay? You don't gotta get mad. I don't know what happened. But let me hop on over to my chart and see the message that I sent her so that I can, because if I try to list the symptoms off the top of my head, I'm going to forget them. I could probably list most of them, but I'd rather just read what I wrote because it's more reliable. Okay, so I said, for context, the symptoms of my manic episode include being hyperverbal, having intense energy, needing less sleep, like 6 hours, not being able to sleep. I have not gone to bed yet and do not plan to. Making impulsive decisions, almost reach out to toxic relationship that would have certainly ended in me having a relapse, trying to keep myself from buying an $1,000 course, feeling like everything is urgent and needs to be solved now, brain dumping, racing thoughts that I can't control. Something in my mouth. And is a tomato. And I can barely focus on school. So those are my symptoms. If you are feeling in any way similar or related to what I said, please heed my warning. I really don't want to see another person go through what I did unnecessarily. I wish I had someone that I could relate to that would have told me like beforehand, like, hey, you're in a manic psychotic episode and you need to not make these decisions right now. Like, just trust me. And I didn't have anyone that I could trust. So I hope I can be that person for you. And just, yeah, I don't want to see you homeless. I don't want to see you, ruin your body. I don't want to see you ruin your mental health. So trust that I have your best interest in mind. Think of me as like your big sister or your mom or even your grandma. I don't know. And I'm rooting for you. And if you're going through mania, I promise it'll get better. Please seek the help of a licensed mental health professional, preferably someone who can prescribe you medicine, like a psychiatric nurse practitioner or a psychiatrist, someone in that range, and talk to them about your symptoms. Let them know how you're feeling, that you feel really unstable, and be open to trying a medication. Like, I've been scared of lithium this whole time, but with how unstable I am, I'm willing to give it a try now. So just be open and put off those big decisions and see how you feel when you're more stable, okay? Love you, bye.